Good morning to you. Hey, it's Kirk Duncan here. Super excited to be with you. We've got a great training here planned for you today, and I hope you are ready to take notes. In fact, just tell me in the chat, you ready for this? You got something to take notes with, notepad, got a pen or sitting at your computer? Got to have someplace to take notes because I am going to stretch your mind open so you can see what's going on with your clients. I'm going to stretch your mind. So I've got more content that I probably have time, but we're going to go through as much as possible. Hold on just a second. I forgot to close my window. I have my window open because the wind and the sound of the river coming down the canyon is just so beautiful. It's so amazing. So we're going to have a great time here in talking about clients, coaching clients. Such a fascinating part about being a coach is helping other people to be able to take action in their life. Now, you and I both know from being a human, being a person, that when it comes to making progress, moving forward in your life, and even your to-do list, there comes a time when you don't take the action that you know is required to move forward. And you might have times in your life where you're puzzled, like, why am I not taking action? Like, what really is stopping me? What's really got me stopped? Now, some people blame their kids. Some people blame their spouse, their friends, their boss, their team. They blame the devil. They even blame God. They blame their dog, their cat, their neighbors, the weather. I mean, you could pretty much come up with a list of about 10 to 15 places to blame why you didn't take your next step in that project or goal or that activity that you know you needed to do. And so there's a lot of excuses of why this happens, but today we're going to drill in and find what's underneath the surface, because as a coach, you're helping other people take their action steps. And you know, if they were able to take their action steps, they would get their goal. They would get the results that they want. So you and I both know how difficult it is because we're humans too. And then here we are coaching other people. So today's training is for your client, so you can be a better coach for your client, but you're going to gain a lot of insight and a lot of aha moments about yourself. So it's twofold, but I'm going to approach this though, talking to you as a coach, having clients, working with clients in what to do to support them. Now, today I'll be talking about some content that I've never shared in any class before today. And it's just other insights that I've had over the years of my 18 years of training that have helped me in how to work with people. So make sure you have a pen or a pad of paper with you so that you can take some notes. Cool? All right, cool. So we're going to jump into this. We've got time blocked off here to be able to have this conversation. Now, I want you to know there's a lot of progressive slides that I'm going to show you. And if you're going to try to take notes on every single slide, you're going to not be able to keep up. So here's what I want you to take notes on. Take notes on what you're being inspired to realize about how to help your coaching clients. If you try to take notes on exactly what I'm saying, it's just not going to happen. So look at those places in your mind and in your heart, what's going to open up for you today and what's going to inspire you today to be a better coach. Now, I'll break it down into action steps. So I'll pull this together so you can see what it is to actually do to be able to help your clients take their action steps. Cool? All right, so we're going to get right into this. I love doing this. I love the fact that I'm seeing who's on the webinar chat and I'm seeing where you're from. And it's, again, I just want to call out the miracle we have to be able to use technology to talk and to connect, and you can live anywhere in the world, and here we are connecting. And it's just beautiful. I still count that as a miracle, and I'm grateful for that miracle so that we can reach around the world and for me to be able to be with you right now. How cool, right? Okay, cool. So let's look into this really quick. So every person wants to have an improvement, a change. They want to do better. They want to feel better. They just want their life to be more organized. And this experience to go from where they're at to where they want to is a transformation. It's a changing. But what happens though is we find that a lot of people are caught in the information zone. They're in the information zone, like they're learn. And when it comes time to take action or put it into application, they tend to shy away from this. Now, again, I'm talking about your coaching client. They tend to shy away from taking bold action and confident action. And so since they're not very prone to taking action, they slide back into the information zone. So you'll find that your client wants to learn more, read more, study more, watch more videos, thinking that that is transformation. And here at the very beginning, we have to really clarify and identify and segment that there are three different experiences. One is the information, which is the learning zone. And that's the one here at the bottom. Then the next one is the doing. That is its own experience all in itself to be able to do the work that you just do what you've just learned. Then the second part is the actual changing that happens to you. You know, the changing that a person goes through. And so there are three distinct parts about going from where we're at to where we really want to be. Three distinct parts. And as a life coach, coaching other people, it is utmost important that you see these as three distinct parts. And I'll say this part, but this is not for this particular webinar. I've worked with clients who are in the do zone, like they're just really using what they're learning, but they couldn't see the transformation that was happening. So this right here, this particular level is its own training class all by itself, is how to help your client see the change that's happening, see what's going on. And tell me if I should do a webinar on this. Tell me if you would like to help, if it'd be beneficial to you, if I could help you help your clients go from doing to changing, because sometimes they miss a component that really throws them into the transformation zone. And because they can't see it, they think, oh, I'm doing all this work and nothing's happening. It's like they're blind to the element of change. And if that is a webinar you would like me to do, because it's like crossing this line from learning to doing is a coaching nightmare if you don't know how to do it. And if your client is doing all their action steps, but they're not changing, that's another hurdle to get over with your client. So these two right here, information to application, application to transformation, are two very distinct parts that as a coach, I've really focused in on to master these two hurdles so I can help the client transform. And I see from what you just said in the chat, that would be something you'd want to know. So I will take note of that and I will put that together. So you'll see that coming. You don't want to miss that one, because it's as huge as the one I'm going to show you because of these two hurdles of going from information to application, application to transformation. Two huge movements that really cause a person's life to open up and live their potential, right? Okay, so information to application is what's really struggling for people today. In fact, if I could put some numbers here, you see all the images I put for the information of the people. There are more people in the information zone than the application zone. And then there are less people in the transformation zone, not because it's impossible, it's because people don't know what they're looking for. They don't know how to change. They don't know what to change, and they don't know how to see it. And so what happens to a person who's down here is that they're learning, but they don't have somebody in their life or a coach in their life who knows how to help them do the work and then do the steps to create the transformation so that they can get here. And so the only thing they know how to do is just keep learning, read another book, watch another video, stay up late at night watching videos and trying to learn. And after a while, a person kind of gets full of learning. And then because they're not doing the work, they get burnt out. They get burnt out. And then when they're ready, right? When they're ready to finally get going, they're back at it again, learning more, but not really doing what they know they ought to be doing. Okay, but I'm going to uncover for you today what's behind the scenes of what's going on that's affecting people in this area. Okay, so right here, I might use the words learn, do, and change in place of information, application, transformation. So means the same thing, learn, do, change, and also information, application, transformation. So here, people today, they have what they have, right? The star that they have, this is their experience, this is their income, this is their house, this is their car, this is their relationships, their health, their fitness, their connection to their higher power. They have a particular level in their life right now, but they see that something else is possible. Not everybody sees it, but because they're your client and they're coaching with you, I know that they are, at least their eyes are open to go, oh, wow, I want to do something different, right? I want to improve. And so the parts here in creating distinction and labeling each one of these parts, we have point A is where they're at. We have point B is where they want to go. And the arrow is going to indicate the action that it takes to get from point A to point B. So the arrow, as I use it like this, will be defined as the action steps or what it takes to do the work to be able to get here. And so you'll see this as I go through this. So information, if somebody wants to go from where they're at to a more improved or more systemized or a better relationship in their life, they do need to have information. They do need to learn. They do need to apply what they learn to the point that it causes change. Then they get where they want to be. So they learn, they do what they learn, they do it enough that it creates a change, and then they arrive to where they want. And this happens with weight loss, strength training, your income, building a business. You know, every category in life follows the same pattern. Learn, do, and then do enough to cause a change inside of you, which then creates this point B. Now, I didn't have a screen to show you this, but I want to show you this. Actually, point B is like at another level. So it goes information, it goes like this. At point A is at this level. And when we learn, we apply and we transform, we actually move to a higher level of clarity, a higher level of understanding. And so we move actually in this in this type of way, we move to this higher ground or this higher way of living, and we're now at point B. And then there's always other points beyond this. There's plenty to learn and plenty to do on this planet. Now, what happens is the learn, do, change. We need to, again, see this as three distinct parts, three distinct experiences. And so when you're coaching your client and you're teaching them, that's amazing, right? You're a coach and you're teaching them, oh, wow, that your client is learning from you. Now, I've seen over my 18 years of training coaches and facilitators and parents and managers, I've seen coaches get very caught up that this is coaching, is to teach a client something. That's not coaching. That is 1/3 of coaching. Teaching your client, for a basic example, teaching your client about a vision board is not full coaching. It's 1/3 of coaching. 1/3 is the learning. The next third is the doing. And the final third is that they are doing it specifically enough and in the way that creates transformation is the other third. So when I hear that coaches say, oh yeah, I just totally taught them about vision boards, and they're like, yeah, I just really love coaching. I'm like, okay, that's a third of coaching. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I go, okay, you're getting caught up into content. Content is the learning part, like what you're going to teach them. But the second third is now to move that client to take action. Now, hear me on this, that a majority of coaches do this 1/3. And they feel like they're amazing and they want to have a bunch of clients and they want a bunch of testimonials. And people will say, wow, you're a great teacher. They'll say you're a great teacher and you're doing great things for them because they're learning a lot. But when you check in and I ask coaches that I'm training, I said, okay, what are your clients doing? Oh, yeah, they're not really doing their action steps, but wow, I did a great job teaching. That's great, but you're a 1/3 coach. Now, I'm not saying that to put somebody down, but I do need to coach coaches to let them know, to say, hey, you're only doing 1/3 of what coaching is. It's not just teaching them content. And then there's less coaches who really get into the action part, the doing the action steps, and really get into the grind with the client and the wrestle and struggle with the doing part of what they learned. Because this is where behavior starts to change and where resistance comes up. This is where self-sabotage exposes itself. This is where all of the internal criticism and being critical and all of the underlying negativity comes to the surface, because now they're actually trying to use what they learned. This is a difficult thing to do. It's not impossible, but you get into the person's life and they try and they fail, they try and they do good, and they try and they fail. It's quite the experience. It makes sense why coaches avoid this, how they don't really get into it with their clients. They get into it a little bit, but they don't really get into it. So it makes sense why there's this whole group of coaches that, that do this part, why they're so good as a coach. I mean, if you want to be a fantastic coach, you master the teaching and helping your client learn, but you really get into the action steps of your client taking action. And not just once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, 7 days a week, right? Like, you really get into the action part, because now your clients' lives start to change and shift and do different and have different results. Then your client can start to experience transformation, where it's not just a temporary experience that comes and goes, but now it's a permanent change. Your client can see the difference. They can see that they've stopped a bad habit and started a new habit. Their results are up and they keep happening month after month after month. Like, they have completely changed. You want to be a rock star coach, like people just want to work with you and they just want to just be in your space and learn from you. You want to master this third part of coaching, is to help them move into the level of transformation, and they see it and they know it, and they just like explode with happiness, and they just can't shut up. They just are telling everybody, showing everybody, like, you got to do this. That's when you're doing fantastic as a coach, when you are clearly identifying these 3 distinct experiences that your client is going to go through. Now, most coaches don't know that there are 3 distinct phases to go through. They don't know. They think coaching is all about content, like I mentioned before. That's what they really focus on, is like, I just need to have more content. And that's what I hear most coaches are looking for. Like, I just have to have more content. I'm like, okay, get more content and then teach your client and get into action. But there's less coaches in this zone right here. And there's a lot less than that actually focus on the transformation part. So I don't know where you're at and what you've realized. And I hope today I'm opening up your mind to like, whoa, Kirk, I don't think I'm doing the third part of transformation that well, or I'm not. Like, what do you do there? How do you do that? That's why I'm here. I'm going to help you. I want to help you because there's people out there who need help. There's people out there praying. There's kids out there praying for their mom and praying for their dad that somebody will help them. There are children praying for their family members that somebody will help them. And that's why you and I have been called to the work. That's why we do this, is because we're feeling the answers coming to us and the call to us, like, we got to do something to help. But knowing that, okay, I'm going to teach, but I'm also going to dive more into the action part with my client. Now, you can see that the action part is not like this teeny little bit. It's a third. And then even here in the transformation part, this is not some little thing like, oh, did you notice any difference? No, transformation is its own piece. It's a third. So wherever you're at right now as a coach, and if you've been really hyper-focused on this part about like, what you're teaching, that's good. Yeah, get your content organized. Really believe in the content you're working with. But just know it's only a third of coaching. Good to know, right? Okay, so clients, I don't think they realize, and now this seems like, oh, well, every coaching client should know this, but you might want to walk your client through this, that to get from point A to point B is going to take action steps. Now, I assumed when I first started 18 years ago, I assumed that whoever I was talking to, that they knew this. I did. I thought they knew. And so I would just start teaching and start talking about goals. But I realized that a majority of the population doesn't understand what an action step is. It's an activity that, when done and completed, moves a person closer to what they want. It's an activity. It's something you do. It's not just something you think about. It's something you do. And then your next their next action step moves them closer. And through a certain number of action steps, you get there. You actually get there. Now, it seems like, oh, well, that's duh, but I'm sharing with you, you may need to cover this with your client. In fact, I'm not going to say need anymore. Cover this with your client. Because if you assume that they understand what an action step is, and then later you find out they don't know what an action step is, you just burned up a bunch of time. Now, I'm also going to say this is the clients, they do think that coaching is a lot of just learning, and they think, oh, it's just a little bit of action. And they don't even know about this part. Don't even know. And so we have to educate the clients what they're going to go through, and that there's 3 different phases that they're going to go through. And there's action steps that you're going to do. And I don't know how many action steps it's going to take because I don't know what your goal is yet. But there are a certain number of action steps that will get you to any goal you set. Any goal you set is going to require a certain number of action steps, and then you get there. But if you don't do the action steps, guess what? You don't get there. And you would think that every human being knows this, but don't assume anything with your client. You need to show your client that if you stop doing your action steps, you don't get your goal. I told a client this once, right? Like this is years ago. I had this situation and I drew this for a client and I said, hey, you haven't been doing your action steps. Do you know what this is going to cause? And they said, no, what? And so I drew this on my whiteboard in my office. I said, okay, you're here. You've done this many action steps and you've stopped. So what that means is you're not going to get your goal. And they were shocked. They're like, what do you mean? I said, you're not going to get your goal. And they're like, well, you're supposed to help me with that. And I said, you have to do your action steps. And they're like, well, what's your part? I said, my part is to teach you what to do. And then you have to do it. You have to do it. And they were shocked. And we had this huge discussion about their assumption that I was in charge of them getting to their goal. Like I had to make them do it. And you know what I realized in the moment? This person was 38 years old. 38 years old. I realized that just because a person is 38 years old doesn't mean they've grown up yet. They were expecting me to make their goal happen for them. Doesn't that sound like a child or maybe even some teenagers waiting for someone else to make it happen? So if your client is waiting for you to make it happen, or you've told your client you're going to make it happen for them, time to course correct and remind them that they're in charge of doing the action steps. And if they don't do their action steps, they're not going to make it. Now, seems like it would be a no-brainer, but you do not want to assume this, or you're going to have difficulty halfway through your coaching program when your client stops doing their action steps. So part of help working with a client is to educate them about the process. That yes, there are action steps they're going to do. Yes, there are 3 different phases they're going to go through, and it's based upon their activity. It's based upon their activity and the consistency of that activity. Makes sense to us, right? Makes sense to us, but we do not assume that it makes sense to them. I've even worked with high-level managers in companies that I thought already knew this, but he didn't do his action steps. And I had to draw the picture and say, hey, just so you know, you're not going to get your goal. And he was all put out. What do you mean? I go, you're not doing your action steps and time's slipping by. And so it's going to take longer to get your goal. And he was all upset. And I said, who did you expect to get your goal? It's like, well, that's why I hired you. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? You have to do your steps. These steps are yours. And if you don't do them, you don't get there. Again, I'm going to say, don't assume your client understands the process that they're going through. Don't assume that they know how this works. You got to show them and explain to them how important it is that they listen to what you're training them on and they do it, that they get going on it and how important it is. Okay, so here's a couple of reasons why a person, some visuals, and then I'll get more into the meat of it. But here's a couple of things that can happen. A person can be moving forward. They can be moving forward and then something happens. Something happens and they'll just quit. So that's very common for people that just something happens, or there's some kind of blow up that happens in a relationship, financially, personally. They can be moving along with their action steps and then boom, something happens, a situation, and they stop. That's very common. Or a person is moving, your client is moving forward and they have a run-in with somebody. And there's a difficult person in their life that blocks them or throws them off. That's very common also of what would stop them from doing their action steps. Or you got a person like this who literally is just going in circles. They just don't know where they're going and they just keep traveling the same thing. Or you might have a client who says, I want to know the one thing I do to get there. And the client then only wants to do gigantic steps. They don't want to do normal action steps. They want to do the gigantic thing to get the gigantic thing, but they can't. They're not skilled enough to do action steps, but they keep bringing up these gigantic steps. And some clients do that, and you get to help them, right? Or some clients do all these little tiny steps, and it's like 3, 4, 5 times as many action steps as they really need to do, but they just do all these little tiny ones, and they get burnt out, and they get tired, and they quit. That's another thing that can happen to your client when they're working on, action steps towards a goal. Or they just think that they're smarty pants, and that they're smart enough that they don't have to follow action steps. I've had that happen where they're like, yeah, I'm this and that and this, and I don't need to do normal action steps. But then they don't do the work. So all of these things, this or the other one is they actually lose sight of a goal. There's nothing. And that would be another reason why a person would stop. So all of these things, losing vision of a goal, thinking they're smarty pants, doing too tiny of action steps, too big of action steps, running in circles with their action steps, somebody blocking their action steps, situations that throw them off, or just the unknown, just blah, it just shuts down. All these different scenarios happen with clients, but yet the client will use similar language and say, I've hit a wall. So when they say that they feel like they're stuck or they've hit a wall, they've either lost their goal, or they think they're too smart, or their steps are too small, or their steps are too big, or they're going in circles, or somebody has gotten in their way, or a situation has thrown them off, or something weird has just happened. So here's a huge piece of wisdom. When your client says, hey, I'm up against a wall, or I feel like I'm stuck, when they say that, do not assume what the wall is. If you assume that it's one of these, like there's no goal, or they're smarty pants, there's action steps are too small or too big, they're going in circles, it's a person, it's a situation, it's something. If they say, oh, I feel like I'm stuck, your job as a coach is to find out, what is it? What is this? So across the board and across the country and across the world, it is universal for a person to say, I feel like I'm up against a wall, or they will say, I feel like I'm stuck. Those are the two most common descriptions that they use. And when I say across the world, it's because I've coached people around the world and they use the same language. They say, oh yeah, I feel like I'm stuck. And then I say, what do you mean stuck? Or if they say, oh, I feel like I'm up against a wall. And I say, well, what do you mean when you say wall? What happened? I need to know as a coach, what is blocking their ability to take action steps? What does this client perceive it to be? Now, because I've coached so many people, I've identified lots of different blocks, and I just showed you them like 3 times, all these different kind of blocks, and there's many, many more. But as a coach, if you're ever going to get this client moving again by removing this wall, you find out what they perceive the wall to be. Now, you might have a different view on it because you have a different way of looking at life because you're a life coach, and because you'll have a different view, but you always want to know what is their view. Because if you don't know their view of what this is, you're not on the same page as they are. You're not on the same page. And if you're not on the same page with them, they're not going to listen to you. So you need to find out where your client is. What are they up against? What stopped them? They were moving along and then bam, something happened. Did they lose sight of their goal? Did they all of a sudden think they're smart, too smart for what they're doing? Too small of action steps, too big of action steps, going in circles, a person, a situation, or something weird just happened. But either way, they're up against a wall. But never, ever, 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 ever assume that their description of a wall or the words, I feel like I'm stuck. Don't just move on with that type of information, because that is a generic description. And if you follow generic descriptions from your client, you will go the wrong way as a coach. You will guide them in a less effective way if you take their generic description and run with it. Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to assume what happened. You're going to come up with your own idea, and now you're coaching them on a direction that you're not clear and not sure of. And so now you're going to waste your client's time heading in a direction that you assumed was going to be the best coaching for the wall that they're up against. So you stop and you give your client the space and energy and time to describe what they're up against, what happened, what caused the stuck, what caused the wall, what's their perception. Now, here's another pro tip for coaching. They don't know. They're not conscious of it. I find that 80 to 90% of people have no idea what stopped them because they don't watch for these things. It's not in their mode of operation to look for what stops them. They're just upset they can't move forward. They're just upset, or they're bummed out, or they're sad or embarrassed. But they're not the kind of person who looks for obstacles. We're the weird ones because we're coaches. And so we're always looking for, what's the obstacle? How do I get this person through this obstacle? And so our mindset is different because we're just different in the mechanic way of thinking. We're looking for walls and we're looking for ways to get through walls. But if you assume that they should know, you're going to come across condescending to them. If you're assuming they should know, I treat my clients as though they have no idea. That way I'm more supportive, I'm more kind, I'm more patient, because I'm assuming they don't know what happened to bring them to a stop in their action steps towards what they want. Okay, I hope this is making sense, because if you assume that they should know, you're going to come off condescending, critical, and it's just going to be in these little tiny ways, and your client is not going to open up to you. This is one of the biggest parts of coaching. And let me explain this, why it's so big, is because when you have been teaching them and they started to take action, now something happened. They can't take action. You got this client moving. And if you assume that they know what stopped them and you are condescending to them in any way, they're going to pull back to learning. Because now they feel like they didn't measure up to you. They're going to feel like they should have known. And they're going to pull back. You're going to lose them. It's really frustrating as a coach when you're like, what happened? Why is my client pulling back? But when you look into it and you're like, wow, I assumed they should know. I assumed that they're better than where they're at. And when you do that to them, it can have a very bad effect on them and they'll pull back. So the main part here is assume that they don't know what the wall is, but you still ask, hey, what do you think it is that stopped you? What do you think it is? And they might say, I don't know. It's like, oh, well, what happened in the last couple of days? You were doing good. You're doing some action steps, and then did something happen? Now, I'll let you know a little secret. I say to them, did something happen between you and a person? No. Did a situation happen? Well, or do you feel like you're going in circles? Or is your action steps too big? Or are your action steps too small? Or are you losing hope and vision about where you're going? Okay, do you see the questions I just gave you to ask? It's like the very scenarios. Each one of these scenarios are great questions to pose to your client so that you can help them discover what happened here. Because part of understanding why they're not taking their action steps is you want to help teach them to search themselves, to start to open up their eyes to what is different today than yesterday. Why are they not motivated to take their action step? Because one of these happened. And so as a coach, if you take the generic answer of like, yeah, I feel like I'm up against a wall. Oh, you're up against a wall? Okay, let's do this then. You're not going to know what the client's going through. And it's okay to ask. And it's okay to take like a whole coaching appointment to uncover, what is this? What is it? It's a generic answer, but what is it to them? Why are they stuck? I'm going to add that on here. Why are they stuck? And when you take time to discover this with them, this could be a transformational experience, a discovery, an aha, a mind-opening awareness. Some of the greatest moments I've had in coaching was not in teaching. It was when they were doing their action steps and something stopped them. And when they found out what it was that stopped them, they began to change. And so this is a huge moment, not to just jump over and just keep moving on with action steps, but if a client gets stuck, that particular situation, person, or whatever happened has happened numerous times before. So every human gets stopped sooner or later. The reason why they can't get through it is because they don't know what it is. They don't know. So when they get stopped and they're stopped for a while, they usually drift back to where they were. And then in a couple months, they think, oh, I'm going to try that again. And then they get going again, and they'll come up against the same wall, the same thing that got them stuck before. They'll come up against the same thing. And so for you as a coach to stop and go, hey, something's happened. You're not doing your action steps. Let's look at this together. And when you look at it together, that aha moment can be transformational for them, because now they can see what it is, which is the beginning process of getting through it, because they can see it. So as a coach, don't take the generic answer as a wall or feeling stuck and then just move on with more education. Don't just take that. Stop and listen to them. Tell me you got this part. Tell me you got it. In the chat, tell me you got it. Got it? Yep. Get your fingers on the keyboard. Tell me you got it. I want to see that you got this, because this is a big part of understanding. Because if you don't help the client figure out what this was, it's going to happen again next week and next month. And you're going to keep bumping up against it. And you don't want your client to have to face this over and over again. So we stop and we talk, right? Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm seeing you guys what you're saying in the chat box. Great. Good job. Okay. All right. So you can see already we're starting to talk about why your clients don't take their action steps, right? Because number one, they don't know what it is that stopped them, but I gave you some questions to ask. Questions to ask are, did something happen? Was there a situation? Is there a person that you've interacted with? Do you feel like you're going in circles? Are your action steps too big? Are your action steps too small? Or do you feel like you know enough, you should already be there? Or did you actually start to lose vision of where you're going? Those are all great questions to be able to help them identify what it is so that they can see it. Because part of being stuck is not knowing what has stopped you. That's the most discouraging part about going for a goal, is getting stuck or getting stopped and you don't know what happened. You're like, what happened? I don't know what's happening. And then the next way of thinking usually is like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. They think something's wrong, and then that type of thinking starts the spiral down if they start thinking that there's something wrong with them. It's not good for anybody to go down that spiral. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, good. So you're with me so far? Yes? Okay, great. Okay, so the intention is that we are capable as coaches to move people through their walls because they know what it is, we know what it is, and then our training can then assist them in taking action steps through that wall. And when a person moves through that wall, that's part of transformation. Because for years, they've been on this side, and now they're on this side. Even if their goal is still over here and they got through that wall, that's a huge success that they're back taking action steps. It's huge. And I tell my clients, I go, hey, you're transforming. And they're like, what? I go, that wall, it didn't stop you. We figured it out. And they're like, yeah, for the first time in my life, I got through that. And I show my clients the changing when it happens. Every obstacle, every wall we work through, I tell them, I go, you're transforming. You're different. This is different than where you've been before. And they'll confirm that and say, yeah, I've never been able to get through this before. And so I'm already showing them and open their eyes to it so that the transformation can escalate. So good. Okay, so us as people, we have patterns in our heads. Inside of our brain, we are a pattern creature. These patterns create habits in our life, which then ultimately decides our lifestyle. So our lifestyle is run by the patterns that go on inside of our head. Now, when I say patterns, what does that mean? Well, in our subconscious, the subconscious already runs by patterns. Your heartbeat is a pattern, and it's run by your subconscious. Your breathing is a pattern, and it's run by your subconscious. All of your organs and everything you're doing in your body, all of your bodily functions follow a pattern. So your subconscious is a master at patterns. That's what it does. And so when the subconscious learns through the consciousness of what we're doing every day, when it learns of a way to be or a way of being, it will take on that pattern. And now you live that pattern, something that you were taught or an example you were shown or experiences you've had become patterns. And because your subconscious is already highly designed to keep running the same pattern, your life follows a pattern. You are predictable. You have predictable patterns. Now, there are different levels of patterns. You could have a pattern that is producing a low level result. You could have another pattern that's, producing a higher level of result. And then you could have another pattern that's producing the top level of results financially, with your health, with relationships, with how you spend your time during the day. It's all in patterns. But if you will, just consider the fact that there's 3 levels of patterns: low, middle, and high producing patterns. If your client has a low producing pattern, that is in their subconscious. If they have a middle producing pattern, it's in their subconscious. If they have a high producing pattern, it's in their subconscious. The patterns we live every day are in our subconscious, because the subconscious runs our body, and it's all full of patterns, and it's all full of systems. Everything we do follows a pattern. Now, these patterns, they follow in the way that we exist, in how we interact with people or how we set goals. We also have a think, feel, act pattern. Some patterns repeat every day. Some patterns repeat every 7 days, every 2 weeks, every 26 days, every 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. But we have all different kinds of patterns running us inside of our subconscious. Now, these patterns are not run consciously, because consciously, we do make choices, we have interactions, we have observations, we have input coming in, we have output we give. But at the end of the day, our consciousness goes to sleep. Our subconscious runs our body functions. It's conditioned, it's programmed, it follows patterns. It's always awake and puts the consciousness to sleep. That last one right here tells you the subconscious is more powerful than the consciousness, because subconscious puts us to sleep. Even if we're driving down the road, even if we're watching a movie, even if we're sitting at the dinner table with friends and family, our subconscious, when it's done and it's like, you need to go to sleep, it'll put you to sleep. And you'll miss the movie. You'll start to swerve on the road. Even though you could die, your subconscious will go, hey, it's time to go to sleep. And it starts to put you asleep. So the subconscious follows patterns, and it's going to get the pattern done. So what happens is, as a coach, you're consciously working with your client, and they're being conscious. They are living a particular life that's following their subconscious pattern. What happens is, the client now wants to choose a goal and improve their life to a higher level of patterns. And so consciously, they're working on their action steps. And as they start to work on their action steps, the subconscious jumps in and goes, that's not our pattern, and takes your client back to the subconscious pattern it was following. That's frustrating for a client. They're trying to do the work, and they get pulled back. Do you know what this is called? Self-sabotage. And so self-sabotage is when our subconscious patterns pull us back to the pattern we were living. When we are trying to improve our life, our subconscious is the master in our life of patterns. And so it pulls us back to where we were. And that is what self-sabotage is. Could it be that your client is in self-sabotage? Guaranteed they're in self-sabotage. You are in self-sabotage. And so what is self-sabotage? It's the wrestle between our conscious new choices and our subconscious patterns. That's what self-sabotage is we're trying to change our life or change a pattern or a habit. And our subconscious goes, No, we're already programmed to be a certain way. And that wrestle right here, right in that spot, is the self-sabotage you and I and your clients face every day. Every day, we are dealing with self-sabotage. Every day, your client is wrestling with this experience between conscious and subconscious. It's happening every day. So here's something to think about. If your client goes a long period of time without updating you about their action steps, they are most likely losing the battle in self-sabotage. Because the longer a person is left alone to do their conscious action steps, left alone, like nobody's there to check on them, there's no reporting, there's nothing like that going on. If a person is left alone to work on their conscious action steps, like, hey, I'm going to do these action steps, they are wrestling with the subconscious, and the subconscious is taking them back to their original pattern. So your client is dealing with this every day. So how do you consciously outwit the subconscious? How do you get past it? You need other people in your life to check on you, for you to update them. So your client needs, and the word we use is accountability. So you hear people say, oh, hold me accountable. The reason why there's this accountability part is to say, did I do my action step, or did my subconscious take me back to my old pattern? That's what this line is called, is the accountability, to keep the client on their new path, hoping to set a new pattern, hoping to do the work long enough that the subconscious changes the pattern. But your client is dealing with self-sabotage every day, all day long. So as a coach, you need to know they are wrestling with it all day long. Because as you go to try to change, your subconscious knows the patterns you've been living by and says, what are you doing? Let's go back to what was already established. We've been living this way for a long time. We're good. But remember, your subconscious also tries to put you to sleep while you're driving. So yeah, the subconscious is powerful, but it's not smart. Now that's interesting. The subconscious is powerful, but is it always smart? No, it does what the pattern is. So the subconscious isn't about smarts. That's where our consciousness comes from. Our consciousness is here to find out what is smart. The subconscious follows patterns. That's what it's programmed to do. Follow the pattern you gave it. And that's what it does. And it's strong because it needs to run your heart. It needs to run your breathing. It needs to run your digestive system. It needs to run cell division. It needs to fight off diseases. It has a job and it's strong, but it's not smart. Consciously is where our consciousness is, where our smarts come from. So your client made a decision to go for a goal. They're going for a goal. Hold on, I need to get an arrow. A star. Copy. This, I hope you get this, because this is huge when it comes to coaching, to understand what is going on here. So your client consciously chose a goal. As they go to work towards their goal, at some point, I don't know where it's going to happen for your client, but at some point, the subconscious will get involved and say, we're going back to our pattern. This is not what our pattern was, and we're going to go back. And that turning from going towards the goal, going back towards the original plan, the original pattern, is called self-sabotage. And every person every day is wrestling with this all the time. Changing the pattern to be here, to change the pattern to be where you really want it to be. So the subconscious is always working on taking us back to the pattern we were living, always. So if you have clients and they are not reporting to you, they're not updating you, where are they going? They're going back down. Part of accountability is saying, I did my action step. I'm going the right way, because now it's keeping the work conscious. To change patterns, you have to stay conscious of your actions. And to keep a person conscious of their actions and the actions they're going to do, you ask your client to report to you, to update you often. If you go too long without updating or reporting on their activity, guaranteed the subconscious will get back in there and take them back to their old pattern, or at some level, maybe they have a little bit of improvement, but they didn't get their actual goal. So your wrestle in life, your first wrestle in life, is against the patterns in your subconscious. Way before your kids, your spouse, your relationships, money, time, way before all this other stuff that seems difficult in this world, your internal struggle is between what you consciously want and what you subconsciously are programmed to do. Because of the strength of the subconscious, and the subconscious needs to be strong to keep our heart beating and our lungs expanding, and not our chest cavity to expand to bring air into us, and all of our systems. It has to be strong. But it also is strong on the life patterns we live. Your financial status is a pattern. Your relationship status is a pattern. Your eating is a pattern. The cleanliness of your home is a pattern. It's all patterns in your subconscious. There's nothing wrong with you because you live patterns. But when you realize you could have a higher level pattern, you've tried, your clients have tried to change the way the patterns work. And that's where we feel like a failure, is because changing the subconscious is impossible if you don't know how. And so every time a person tries and they go right back to where they were, they feel like they're a failure. They feel like they can't change. They feel like something's wrong with them. They don't know what's wrong with them. And it's because they don't understand the relationship between the conscious and subconscious. Teach your client what I just showed you, so that they understand why accountability is necessary to stay on track, to stay conscious of your action steps, every single one of these action steps. Because if they don't report and they're not talking to you about their action steps, then what happens is the subconscious will get in there and will drag them back to where they were. And they are going to feel like a failure again. And they're going to wonder that maybe this goal was never meant for them. That's what they're going to think. It's what most people think. That's why people give up on goals, is because they don't know what's happening. They don't know. But the subconscious is not a bully. It's not against anybody. It's strong. That's what it is. It's strong. And it has patterns. And those patterns is what you live by. That's what's happening. And so you're wrestling with patterns. Your client's wrestling with patterns. But accountability is the, hey, I did my action step, or hey, I didn't do my action step. It's to keep the activity conscious. Because consciously, we're attempting to change the pattern. We're attempting to move it up into a higher level of pattern financially, with our relationships, with our life, with the way we interact with time and love and forgiveness. We're attempting to move it from here to here. So that's what goal setting is all about, is changing the pattern we live, because patterns are our habits and our habits are our lifestyle. So if your client wants to improve their lifestyle, they're actually saying to you, help me change my patterns. But the fault is when they become unconscious of their activities and there's no reporting, no accountability. And when that's not there, it's guaranteed. It will happen, guaranteed. The subconscious will take them back to what the pattern was. Guaranteed self-sabotage. So your client is facing self-sabotage today and yesterday and the day before and tomorrow and next week and next month. So this is why we want to be super hyper-focused in the action zone. What are they doing? Keep your clients taking action steps. Now, what's going to happen? I could tell you all kinds of things here. We could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and days and days and days about all the scenarios that can happen. If their subconscious is having difficulty, now hear me out on this. If your client's subconscious is pulling on them back to the old pattern, the subconscious will get them to miss an action step, like not do their action step for the day. Like they won't even remember it. They won't even remember what they were supposed to do. Or, let's go back to this. Or the subconscious will facilitate a situation. It'll facilitate a situation and go, oh, okay, let's create some drama. Drama always works. So then the subconscious goes, all right, we need something to happen so we can pull them back to where they were. So the subconscious, your client's subconscious creates drama. Bam. And now the person drops. So many things the subconscious will do unconsciously, like the person doesn't even know it's happening, to create the drop to go back to the old patterns. And we could talk for days on this. Okay, my main part of teaching this to you is I hope this is making sense to you. If it is, please say something in the chat box. I want to know if this is making sense, because this was huge to me as a coach to realize what my clients are going through. Like, this is every day, right? Every day this is going on. So tell me in the chat box. Yes, no, am I weird? Have I lost you? Are you with me? So yeah. Okay, good. So as a coach, you're here to eliminate self-sabotage. That's what you're doing. You support your client to do action steps, but now that you're getting them to do the work, the second, third, there's teach them, and now they're doing. Now it's like, okay, client, self-sabotage is here today. we got to watch out for it. So that means you got to do your action step, because the subconscious is just waiting, like going, all right, let's get this person back to the old pattern. And so if your client doesn't report to you or update you or doesn't fill out a weekly success form, or there's no activities to keep them conscious of what they're doing and what they did. What they're doing and what they did. So as a coach, have your client update you what they did and what they're doing all the time to keep them conscious. That's how you get past the subconscious. It's one of the most important ways. There's other ways to do this, but I'm just going to share this part to stay conscious of the activities. Because when the conscious activities are strong, then the level of patterns will move to follow the conscious activity. And that person's life now will transform. That's the transformation, is when you cause the subconscious to let go of the previous pattern and accept the next level of patterns. It now accepts the next level. That's the transformation. Now the person actually lives differently, like their behavior changes. They do things different. Their results change because they're in a new pattern. So what we're doing as coaches is we are helping our clients change their patterns by focusing on action steps. Teach them what to do, but now we follow up. We stay close to them. We cause them to report on what they're doing, what they've done, what they're doing. We keep them conscious about the activities that are going to get them to their goal. Because as a coach, if you are not doing this part, your client is in self-sabotage mode and you're motivating them and they're frustrated. That's poor coaching. Now, you didn't know this before. If you didn't know this before, well, you're not busted. You're not in trouble. But I do know some coaches who are like, yeah, I don't care. They just paid me. I'm like, why are you in coaching? What are you even doing? Like, drives me nuts when coaches are only in it for the money. It's like, drives me nuts, because it's like, we're here to help people where it really counts, changing patterns. So when they get to this point and they are strong and conscious, they're staying conscious and doing repetitive action steps that lead towards a goal, that creates strength in a new direction instead of the old direction. This was the old direction, in a new direction. So repetitive action in a new direction creates strength. That then causes the subconscious to move its pattern from here to here. It changes. That's called transformation. And I pointed out to my clients, so when they are doing things different, or their behavior is different, or they're using different language, the results are different, I pointed out and say, hey, you're changing. They're like, what? What do you mean? It's like, you got to see it. Look. Always pointing to it so they can see it, which will multiply the effects of them even moving more. So what's the secret here? Accountability. But what does accountability mean? You're keeping your client conscious of the activities they're doing in the direction they want to go. And once you see a client miss a step, self-sabotage has happened. And it's happening. And you want to teach your client what that means. Hey, if you miss an action step, just know that the subconscious is now, it's gaining ground on you, and you will go back. And you might have clients who are like, oh my goodness, oh, this is so hard. It's like, yeah, but it's okay. We just tomorrow do your action step, or tonight before you go to bed, do something. Something is better than nothing when it comes to an action step a day. Something is better than nothing, because if you do nothing, subconscious is just getting stronger and going, yep, we're going back. So once that action step is missed, it needs to be addressed and talked about and reminded of the whole system that's happening here. Because if they're not conscious of this, they're going to go right into self-sabotage mode, and you're going to feel like you're a terrible coach, and you're going to wonder why people are not being successful. And it's because you are missing this and they don't know about this. And that's why I'm saying you teach your client this. Good? So I hope you got this part about you have your client update you, you have your client report to you, either on a daily basis or every other day or once a week on success stories, or they just give you an update for the whole entire week. But you want them to identify each one of the action steps. Now, I have an action step tracker that I've used for years and years in one-on-one coaching and in my group coaching, that they write down their action steps per day, and then they have to mark the sheet if they did it or not, and then what their excuse is, so that they're seeing it in front of them every single day. That's a great thing to do with your client too. Now, some people, when the subconscious gets strong, they give up. They can feel it. They can feel the resistance. They can feel the irritability. They can feel frustrated. They feel all this like something's intense inside of me. Because when these two meet up and they're pulling, they're going up and this is pulling down, that spot right there can be intense. Tell your client what it is. It's the upward movement with a downward pull. It's called resistance. Resistance, where they're trying to go up and the subconscious is pulling down. There's this tension and they feel it. And when people feel this moment, they misinterpret it and they think it means what they're doing is bad. And so they quit. This is where people quit, right here. That's where they quit. They feel the tension of the upward activity with the downward pull of the subconscious, and they don't know what it is. And so they guess that, hey, if it feels weird or feels bad, it must mean that what I'm doing is bad. And so they quit. Or they say, you know what? I need to take off 2 or 3 weeks. This is just getting really intense. They want time off. And you know what that means when they say time off? Time off means subconscious is just going to, bam, pull them down. It's going to pull them back because they're going to stop their activities because they feel the tension. You know what else happens? You know what else happens is a spouse or a relationship will say, oh, wow, you're being kind of intense about this goal. It's kind of being intense. And so they're talking about this moment and they're like, are you sure you should be doing this goal? Like, it looks like it's really racking you. It's not the goal that's racking them. It's the tension between conscious and subconscious. They're on the verge of transformation. If they stick with it, the level changes. If they back off, they go back to where they were. This tension means there's a change about to happen. A physical change in their subconscious, like there's a pattern that's about ready to change. And so teach your clients that when this happens, or when a family member, a friend, or a coworker says, I don't know if you should be doing this goal because this is kind of intense for you. Like, that is the worst advice ever, to tell somebody to back off a goal. The worst advice ever. You're literally telling the person, go back to your old pattern and all the hard work you did was worthless. People literally talk people out of transformation. They literally talk them out of it. Because their person's so, there's like intensity, there's tension, they're irritated, there's something they're wrestling with, but they're finally to the point where consciousness and subconscious are literally head to head. It takes so much energy to get to this point, to go head to head with your subconscious. The last thing you need is somebody around you to tell you that it's the goal that's the problem. The goal is not the problem. There is no problem. There's no problem. This is called growth. This is called transformation. This is called changing. This is called self-control. This is called self-mastery. It's what every human being wants, is mastery over their subconscious. Every human being wants mastery over their subconscious, that they can do what they want to do and accomplish what they want to accomplish. But once they come head to head with their subconscious, conscious to subconscious, all of a sudden you got people around you going, oh, you should quit that goal. Oh, this is too much for you. Oh, this is too hard. And so then the person feels like they've done something wrong because there's tension. You finally are consciously strong enough to face the subconscious pattern head on. And you're just about ready to become stronger than the subconscious. Just about ready to go beyond its power. Almost ready. And so to become consciously strong, that you can change a habit, change a pattern, change your lifestyle to a new level. I mean, this is the moment. This is the thing. This is what every person is striving to accomplish, is self-control. Because when you have subconscious patterns going on that you can't control, you feel out of control. And then you spend the rest of your life trying to control everybody else to make your life better because you lack self-control. This planet lacks self-control. The people on this planet lack self-control. It is the problem in everything. Lack of self-control with money, lack of self-control with desires, lack of self-control with activity, lack of self-control with time, food, everything. All problems come from a lack of self-control. And this client works hard to get enough strength to face their subconscious. And they're about ready to move beyond it. And they're struggling. You as a coach needs to know this. You get to know this so you can help your client like, hey, you're head to head with your subconscious. And if you keep going through this tension, through this irritability, through this resistance you're feeling right now, your consciousness will outdo your subconscious, and you will change your subconscious. Stay with the tension. Do your next action step. Do it. Don't skip an action step. You're about ready to take over your subconscious in this area of your life that you're working on. So as a coach, you don't tell your client to back down. You don't tell your client like, oh, yeah, your spouse is kind of bothered that you're wrestling with this, you're struggling with this. Educate their spouse. Don't tell your client to back off. Don't let another person tell them to back off. Educate the people who are uneducated. They are uneducated. Every person wants self-mastery, but when they get to the point that they're about ready to have it, they talk each other out of it. It's the crab in the bucket analogy. A bunch of crabs are in a bucket, or one crab is in a bucket. One crab is in a bucket, and he's starting to crawl out. And the other fisherman says, how do you keep the crabs in the bucket? And he says, oh, just throw another one in it. It'll drag the other one down. And that's what people do. They drag each other down. And this is like the worst thing going on the planet right now, is other people dragging other people down just because it gets tough. Just because it's tough, they tell them, oh, you should back off that goal. It's wrecking your life. It's like, no, it's tough. Yeah, you should stop. No, I finally reached the tough moment. All these other action steps are pretty basic, doing it. But then when it comes head to head, it gets tough. You as a coach need to know that in the life of a client, what happens is when they get into the doing, it gets tough. When they're on the verge of change, it gets tough, difficult, self-sabotage, knocking on the door every single day. You as a coach, you support the tough facing of conscious to subconscious. You support it. You encourage them to take their next action step, and their next action step to then gain a consciousness that is stronger than their subconscious. Stronger. We have too many weak-minded people, because as soon as it gets tough, their family member says, oh, you should back off, or you shouldn't do this because you're making me uncomfortable. It's like we tell them to back off. We have a lot of weak-minded people who have have less self-control than what they want. It's the root to so many problems. Lack of self-control. Lack of control of the conscious mind is going to raise havoc in a person's life. They can't make decisions. They can't do anything. They can't start. They can't stop. They can't treat people with respect. They can't forgive people. They can't let go of things. They're easily triggered when you have a low, weak consciousness. It's crazy. I mean, this is so huge. Huge. I hope you're getting it. Because what you and I do is we build strong, conscious-minded people, because we're all about action steps. Yeah, teach them, give them content, teach them techniques, do that work so they have the tools, the techniques, the education to work towards their goal that you're coaching them on. But you got to know the tough zone that's about ready to happen. This is the battle zone. And it's not because the subconscious is a bully, it's because it's strong. But it's not necessarily smart. It just does what it's told. That's all it does. It just does what it's told. It doesn't make decisions. It just follows patterns. This is our decision-making part. The subconscious is not a bully. It's not something negative. It's not something bad. It just does what it's told. It does what it's taught. It does what it's programmed. And what is it programmed to do? All you got to do is look in your life and you can see how you're programmed. Look at your life, finances, health, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you manage time, the way you treat people, the way you feel like people treat you, how you're triggered. Those are all your subconscious patterns. And you're trying to change, and your client's trying to change. And when they get to this zone, tell them it's tough. Tell them you're going to face some tough moments, but we're going to get through it. It's the tough zone. And so this is gigantic, because this is where people stop doing their action steps. It's where they stop. They don't want to do them anymore. They just don't. They're just like, oh, this is hard. Oh, something weird's happening. But this is the zone when the conscious matches the subconscious in strength. Now it's like, who's gonna change? Which way are we gonna go? We're gonna go back, or are we gonna go forward? This is the moment of transformation. And you as a coach, it is your work to teach your client this. So it's crystal clear what they're getting into. and that their spouse, their partner, whoever they're with, or their friends, that they go home and they teach their spouse. Your client teaches their spouse, their partner, their friends, their coworkers that, hey, I'm heading towards a goal and I'm going to hit a zone that's going to be tough for me. But I have a coach who's going to get me through that zone. And I'm going to change my life. And my life is finally going to change because I have a coach who knows how this works. And you need to know that when I'm in my tough zone, don't tell me to stop. Encourage me to do my next action steps. Encourage me to do the work. Don't tell me to back off. I'm going to wrestle with this. It's going to be hard, but I can't live my life in the patterns I've had. I know too much. You teach your client to teach the people around them what they're going to get into, what they're going to go through. Because if they don't know, they will tell them to back off their action steps. It's already hard enough that your client faces self-sabotage. It's already hard enough. It's already hard to deal with it yourself. And then when you got somebody on the outside saying, oh, why are you doing this? You're causing our family some disruptions, and we just want you to be nice and peaceful and miserable for the rest of your life. It's already hard enough to deal self-sabotage every second of every day. And then when you have outside people telling you that, it's like you just want to give up. And so they will, unless you as a coach teach your client to teach the people around them. This is so life-changing, so transformational. Being a life coach, you're altering a person's existence. This is gigantic. We need to respect our clients at a level that they understand what they're getting into, and that they can, and then you give them the charge to teach their family so that they have the kind of support they need to get through this zone of the wrestle of head-to-head, conscious to subconscious, so that they can make it. Because once the family sees them pull out of the wrestle on the other side, they're going to switch and say, oh, I always knew you could make it. I always believed in you. It's like our support system around us is weird. It's like they don't want us to struggle, but they want us to change. What's up with that? They don't want us to struggle down here, but they don't want to deal with our struggle right here. And then when you make it, it's like, oh, I always knew you could make it. When I was in my struggle zone, right here, when I was in my struggle zone, I had people telling me, I don't know if this is good for you. Are you sure you can do this? And it's like, what the? I had like 9 out of 10 people telling me that I should back off. It's like, this is not helping me. And it actually really bugged the snot out of me. It just ticked me off. I'm like, you people are weird. You love me down here, but I'm miserable. And so I try to change, and then you're like trying to talk me out of it. It's like, oh my word, I need to find better people to help me. And I did. I found people who would say, go, Kirk, go. Because I don't know if you've ever been in this zone. It's hard. It is the hardest thing you will ever do in your entire life is deal with your subconscious patterns and have the guts and courage and the energy to face the strength of your subconscious to change a pattern in your subconscious. Most difficult thing is to deal with this. And people don't do it because they don't know how and they don't want to deal with it. They just don't want to. Once it starts to get tough, they take it as a sign something's wrong and they're out. They're out. They're done. And that's the misinterpretation, because their coach didn't tell them. All their do-it-yourselfer videos didn't tell them. Didn't tell them. They didn't get it. Or maybe they watched a video, but it didn't sink in. And I'll tell you right now, like 9 out of 10 coaches in the world don't address this with their clients. They don't help them with this. They don't know what to do when their client all of a sudden is wrestling with this, or all of a sudden their client quits doing their action steps. They're like, I don't know why they quit doing their action steps. They're just kind of lazy. And it's like, no, it's hard. Okay, I know I get intense about this, but it's real. This is real. It's huge. It's huge because if you don't know this and you don't share this with your client doesn't know what's going to happen. And you just set your client up for a really big frustration to do all this work to get to here. And then their family tells them to back off, or they just quit doing their action steps and they feel like a failure. You need to help them. I want you to help them. No need. It's a want. And if you don't talk to your clients, what are you doing as a coach? What are you doing? Who taught you? So this is how I train coaches. It's like, this is serious. This is life-changing. We're not just here to like just make money. We're here to do what we're gifted to do, and that's to change people's lives. You were called to the work to be a coach, to change people's lives. And this is a huge part of the equation of where change happens. So I hope you got this. And if you haven't been doing this, wow, what a great insight, right? And if you have been doing this, I'm sure during this discussion with you, as I've been sharing this with you, there's been new elements of this that have come to your mind to help you realize more detail that you can share with your client. And if you just skim over this, like, okay, this is really not for me. Okay, it's cool. Another day, it'll make sense to you. The subconscious is big and strong. We literally, as human beings, are here to learn how to consciously gain control of ourselves. We have some work cut out for ourselves. And so that's why our clients need the training, they need the education, they need the help to be able to get from point A to point B by doing the action steps. That this is no just little walk through the park. When somebody says, I want to set a goal, they're literally saying, I want to change the pattern of my life so that I can exist at a higher level than where I was. That's what happens when somebody sets a goal, is they're saying, I live here, I want to live here. I want to change my lifestyle. I want to change my patterns. I want to change my habits. I want to change my lifestyle. I want to go from one level of patterns to another level of patterns. I want to do it. So when they come to you as a coach and say, hey, can you help me? They're saying, I want to change. And they're actually hoping you know how this works and that you'll be there for them when their action step doesn't happen, and that you'll be able to help them through the self-sabotage they're going through every day. Teach them, help them, set up a system of reporting and updating you so that they stay conscious long enough that they gain the strength to face their subconscious head on and get above it. That's what I do. This is what I do. I coach. I care about people and their goals and their action steps. I care about where they're at and what they're doing. But I got to tell you, when I first started, I didn't do well in school, in life. When I first started life, I hated school, did bad on tests, didn't do well. A life-changing moment I had in my life was to get married to my sweetheart, Kimberly. When we got married, I didn't have anywhere to live. So we borrowed her dad's camper trailer. And that's where we lived for first couple weeks of our life until we moved into her grandma's basement. And then we had been married for, oh my goodness, about 10 years. and I realized something was wrong with me. And I started learning about myself and about how my mind works. And it put me on the path that for things to get better, I must get better. And I started getting better. And then people started asking me, what are you doing? And I said, well, I can show you a few things. And then those few people turned into classes, turned into seminars every single month for 15 years. And we held high-level classes in our home. But I love working with people, helping people. We get on TV, we do our YouTube channel, we do everything we can to be able to help people all over the world, to be able to help them. And so it's what I do. There's a lot of people in the world, and I can't get to all of them. That's why you get to be a better coach starting today. So whatever level you're at, I hope today, just in the discussion we've had, helps you like see like, whoa, like this is no wonder people don't do their action steps. It's a wrestle. No wonder they don't. It's a wrestle. But today I'm attempting to move you in some level, wherever you're at, move you up a bit, just to open up your eyes and to consider things of like what's going on. Because when I started coaching, I was brand new. I was just talking to people, right? But it wasn't really coaching. I didn't know how to set quality goals for people. I didn't know how to guide people through obstacles. I didn't know how to empower them to feel stronger or to be more confident. I didn't know what to say to help them take specific action. I did not know how to reduce self-sabotage when I started. Didn't know how to do that at all. Heard a lot of excuses. I didn't know how to reduce those or how to guide my clients to the results they wanted, but I was doing a lot of talking and just chit-chatting and helping talk through stuff when I first coached. It was a lot of interesting things that happened when I first coached. But here's something I want to show you. Okay, I want to show you something that I have not shown people before. I've kind of already talked about this. I forgot this slide was next. Let me just go through this really quick. Reasons why people don't do their action steps. They don't want to fail. They can't see it. They don't know what to do. They can't focus. They're too critical. They're perfectionist, overanalyzer. They're controlled by their feelings. They think their feelings should decide if they do an action step or not. Someone else has been telling them what to do so much that they can't tell themselves what to do. Past failures still haunt them, or they just hurt too bad and they're too low to get started. Those are other reasons why people don't do their action steps, but the main reason is I showed you just now. But here's something I want to just really stretch your mind, okay? Really going to stretch you. So as a coach, I've identified over the last 18 years, 7 action step types. Now, this is my own thing, right? So this has, it's my own content. I created this. I follow this. I use this. And it really helps me in how to work with different people with action steps. And when I say different people, oh, it's funny. I put 7, but I actually have 8. So it looks like you got a bonus one. That's funny. Or I could just say 8. There we go. 8 action step types. When I say action step, like there are different types of people who need different things to motivate them to take action steps. Now, I'm not going to go into depth about this, but I'm going to raise your awareness to this. And I know it'll help you see the differences in people. Because as I started to see this and recognize this, it was like so good for me as a coach to go, oh, you're that type. Okay, because you're that type, this is how I get to work with you about your action steps. So there's different types of people when it comes to doing action steps, what they need to be able to do their action steps. So this is my observation, my years of coaching, and all my seminars I've done. I've found this, and it's really helped me as a coach. Now, before I show this to you, I want you to think about if today has had some value, right? If we found some value here so far in what we talked about so far, because what if we could work closer together, right? What if I could help you in your coaching business and get you moving faster, further, higher than you've ever done in your entire life? Because really, this is the time to do it, is to gain those skills and that understanding of what to do and what not to do as a coach so that you can really excel as a coach. Just be thinking about the value of that and what it would be like if we had a regular conversation every week. Like, what would that be like if I could really like share more and more and more with you, but on a regular basis, right? Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to show you my next coaching program that I have that's been created over the last year called the Coach Fast Track Program. This is like the biggest, coolest program I've ever built in the last 18 years. And the reason why it's the coolest is because my whole entire team and I built it of exactly what it takes to really get on the fast track being a coach. Okay, I'll tell you about those details here in just a moment. And also the awesome special that we're doing, because this is my birthday month in June. And if you ever are going to get in Coach Fast Track, you want to do it this month. Okay, so 7 action step types. These are different types of people who need different things to really start to get into their action steps and embrace them. The first one is called the visionary. I've found that one type of person is they have to see it before they'll believe it and actually take action on it. So when I realize that the person is a visionary, I focus a lot on vision techniques so that they can see the goal realized. Then they become very devoted to their action steps because their visionary side of them has been respected and connected with. With a visionary person, if you don't help them with the vision of their goal and what they're going to be doing, they will be scattered in doing their action steps. So when I realize that they're a visionary person, I take extra time to help them work on that visual side of their goal. And then bam, they're full devoted, and they just do their action steps just intensely. The next one is the feeler. This person has to feel that it's right. So visionary type of conversation doesn't work for them. And so the feeler, they have to feel like it's the right kind of goal before they'll take action steps towards it. They want it, but they're not quite sure on the feeling of it. So I do a lot of emotional work with this type of client to remove hurts and pains and irritations. And the more we remove from the body, they feel more clearly about what they are going to do to create that goal to happen. And so now they are more devoted to their action steps because I recognized they were a feeler, and I walked them through techniques to clear their emotions so that they could embrace their action steps. Next one is the logistical thinker. They want to map in a checklist. So visionary work doesn't work for them. Feeler work doesn't work for them. This particular client, I then draw a map, literally point A, point B, and we map out all the action steps. And once the map is complete, now this person is devoted to their action steps and they're relentless at getting it done. But visionary and feeler work doesn't work for them. And the same with the others. Next is the team client. They want support, help. They want to delegate. And they need to build a team around them before they'll ever get started on their action steps. And when I realize that they're a team-driven person, well, then we start recruiting friends and family members and even people in the neighborhood to support them. And once the team is built, bam, they take off on their action steps and they're devoted to their action steps and they're relentless. But they need this part satisfied before they can take their action steps. But once this is in, they're on. And visionary, feeler, and logistics doesn't work for them because they have their own specific need that needs to be taken care of before they start. Then there's the skill type. They want to practice, and they want to do a lot of practice before they actually officially start. And all the other 4 types don't work for them because they have this particular need that they need to practice it and literally practice it with me, like role play. and I try visionary, feeler, logistics, and team types on them. It doesn't work. So the skill, the tactile one, we do a lot of role play, where a visionary doesn't want role play. A feeler doesn't want role play. A logistics doesn't want role play. They don't want role play. And so the skill, these are all very different types of clients. Then there's the studier. They just want to study it. And I know they won't start their action steps until they've got a certain number of hours of studying out the goal and the possible action steps. Usually it takes them about a month before they'll actually start. But once I realize they're a studier, I support it. It's like, yeah, let's get books, let's get videos, let's get you all figured out. I support them because I realize what type they are. Then there's the type of client who's the guarantee. They don't want to start unless it's a for sure they're going to win. And so they analyze it like crazy to make sure they're going to get their goal before they ever start. And it's a mix of different things that happen inside the guarantee type of client. But I respect them for the type that they are. And number 8 is the auditory type. And they literally will just say to me, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And so I tell them exactly what to do. They go do it. They come back and they say, what do I do now? And then I tell them what to do. And then they go do it and they come back and tell me. And that's how it works. And we literally do that. This is mainly with personal clients. And then that's what we do every day, Monday through Friday, is I tell them, here's your next step. They go do it. They come back. They tell me how it turned out. And then I tell them what to do next. And they that's the way they work. Visionary doesn't work for them. This tactile doesn't work for them. Nothing else works for them except that. And so when I identify these different types, and when I'm working with the client and I realize who they are and what they are in their particular type, I then focus on that strength of theirs. And now, because I'm focused on that particular strength in them, I can now coach them to take action steps. And when I don't know, this is years and years ago, when I did not know the types, I was treating everybody the same. I was treating everybody the same, like, oh, we're going to do action steps. And I couldn't figure out why some would and some wouldn't, and why it was messy. And I'm like, what is going on? So I paid closer attention to what they needed. And over the last, 15, 16, 17, 18 years, I've seen a pattern. I see this pattern with people, and these types emerged. And so now I'm very quick to notice what type of person I'm talking to. And this could be at the family reunion. It could be at a neighborhood barbecue. It could be I'm chit-chatting with somebody at the fairgrounds, and they're like, yeah, I was working on my goals, but I quit. And I'm like, oh, hold on. Let me ask you a couple of questions. And when I realize their type and I talk to them in their language of their type, they light up. Like all this energy comes to the surface of like, oh my goodness, I got to get going on this again. How did you do that? But I talk to them in the way that they function. That's how they function. That's how their brain works. And so I pay attention to find their type so that I can talk to them in the language that will serve them and make sense to them. And then bam, now I got another human being activated. Like the power is on. It's just so exciting to help people turn their power on, so they get so excited about doing action steps. So when I have a client, or I see somebody else's client, or I'm talking to somebody and I can see that they're kind of low on energy, I know that whoever's helping them is not talking to them in the way that they function. And so this has been my own thing that I do so that I can be great as a coach, and I can just be so closely connected with them as a person. And so what happens with that, when I'm identifying their type and talking to them in that particular way, when it comes to the way that their brain functions and how they approach action steps, it makes it a lot easier to get them started. Instead of, they're working on action steps for a while and can't figure out what's going on, what's happening. And it really cuts down on the miscommunication about action steps. So it's been a thrill for me. It's just super exciting to talk to people about their action steps, because first I find out how they function, then I talk to them in that particular way, and then boom, their power is on and they just go. And then their family and friends around them are like, what happened? Like, what happened? It's like, oh, the way Kirk explained it made sense to me more than anybody else I've ever met. And they asked me, how did you do that? I said, I listened to people. I listened closely to how you function and what you're wrestling with and what's going on, so I can help you in the area that works the best. That's what I love about coaching, is I can get really good at this. And then when I help people, I can really help them do good. I want to be a great coach, and I want to just keep getting better and better and better, because I think it's cool when people are tickled and happy and getting results, and they tell their friends and they spread the word around. Like I'd rather have my name have a good reputation than a bad reputation. I mean, duh, right? Who doesn't want that? My wife is up in Idaho visiting some of our family, and she got picked up from the airport, and they stopped somewhere to eat before they went home. And while they're at this place eating, this person walks up to my wife and says, hey, you look familiar. And this person wasn't even from that town that they were in. They lived like 2 hours away. So there's this coincidence that happened that my wife was there and this person was there. And the person was like, wait, how do I know you? And she said her name and what we do. And she goes, oh my goodness, I've been to your classes. I've watched your YouTube videos, and you guys help us. And she said, the person said that in their family, they call me Uncle Kirk. So cute. They call me Uncle Kirk. And because they talk about the different training and the steps and techniques and the things that they've learned, that it's a family discussion. It just made my day yesterday, that it connects with them, that it's it's memorable. It connected with them. It's memorable. It's something they use as a family. They teach their kids. They share it with their friends. That's the kind of coach I've always wanted to be, is that when people bring your name up, it's got good things connected to it, right? And they're happy to share it. And I don't know if you've ever set, your own standards that you want to live up to as a coach, but maybe today would be a day to look at that and go, okay, well, what kind of standards do you want to be seen by as a coach? What kind of reputation do you want to have? So everything I've shared with you today is in an effort to upgrade your skill level, because the world has a lot of problems and it's getting messier by the day, by the week, by the month. It's getting messy, but at the same time, there's also a lot of cool miracles that are happening. But the tough and difficult part is really beating people up. It's really difficult in so many different categories. That's why there's such a high demand for quality coaches. Quality, not just quantity. Sure, people can get online and go watch a video and go, oh, I can be a coach too. That's quantity, and they're trying, but I'm about quality. Like, I want to be quality. I don't know what you want, but I want to be a quality coach. That when I sit down to coach or get on a phone call or get on a Zoom call with somebody, I want them stepping off the call just going, wow, whoa, that was amazing. Something that they never could have experienced with somebody else. I just want to be my best. I really want to be my best so that I can do my best with each person I get to talk with, no matter what the circumstances are, even if it's standing in line at the grocery store and I get a chance to talk to somebody. I just want to be really good at what I do so I can help people in short amount of times. Or maybe I'm on a plane flying somewhere and I get a chance to chat with somebody. Or maybe it's that client who just paid me $25,000. I want to be really good at what I do. So when I go to bed at night, I feel good. I know I'm doing good work. I know that what I'm doing is the right thing to do. Now, if you're in that space and you want to be your best and you want to do the great work that you're designed to do, and you're in that learning zone right now, and you're like, and you like what I shared today, you're okay with my personality and the way I teach and how I am and the way I think, man, we got to hang out more together. Besides just one webinar a month, and get a little snapshot of, a 2-hour piece of a webinar, and then you're trying to reverse engineer things and trying to remember what I said and trying to patch it into what you're doing. What if you could learn the whole mechanical system, the whole plumbing system, the whole lighting design of how I coach? I've been doing it for 18 years, been doing a lot of great work in doing this, and I'm not going to stop. What I'm doing now is I'm training coaches on how to raise the quality of coaching and their effectiveness as a coach. And if you're in that space, you want to be learning this way and the deep insights to how things work, and even the basics of coaching, boy, this would be the great place to go. And the program I created is called the Coach Fast Track Program. It began to be created clear last year, at the beginning of last year, because I had a mastermind that I was doing, and it was super successful. Just loved it. But what happened is I asked the members of my mastermind, what else do you want? And they started telling me, hey, I want this. Can you tell us this? Can you teach us this? Will you share this with us? And I told them, I go, well, this is a lot of things I've never taught, but if you want it, I'll help you. And they're like, yeah, do it. And so I began pulling that content together and creating new slides and creating new diagrams to show a lot of the ways that I think and a lot of things I've learned from the coaching that I've been doing. And, like one person said, how did you generate $1 million in a year coaching? I go, and they said, how did you do that when you're a high school graduate and you built a successful company doing this? How did you do that? And I go, okay, well, I'll show you how to do that too. Like, I just want to help people with whatever they want from me in the Coach Fast Track program, whatever they want to know that I've learned, whatever they see that I've learned or experienced or pulled together, I'll create the slide. I'll show them the content. I will share it with the members in the Coach Fast Track program, because they want quantity of clients and quality of coaching. They want to work with a lot of people and be really good at coaching. And if you want that too, then hang in here just for a moment, and I'm going to show you how the Coach Fast Track program works. It's awesome. I'm so tickled with this. It's like the best thing that has ever been created in all my 18 years of training and coaching. I just love it. It's so detailed and dialed in, and it starts in such a great place, and every step of the way is perfectly placed. Perfectly placed. Now, I have to give credit to my team. They're the ones who perfectly placed the action steps. They helped me a lot to make sure I wasn't skipping anything. And if I ever skip something, my team would say, wait a minute, what did you do in this spot? How do you do this? And I would tell them, and then we'd create a video and put it in that spot. So they helped me fill in a lot of parts that I unconsciously just do. And so it's very, very, very thorough in how it works. But the main part about the Coach Fast Track is making sure you've got excellent content, making sure you've got great content that is life-changing. Then the second part is your coaching skill with action steps and transformation, and then paid clients to be able to help you have the skill to have paid clients so you could do this full time. Because what if you could do it full time? Talk about just like live your dream, right? Serve people, takes care of your needs, and you get to choose your schedule, how it works. And you can work from home. So you could work with people one-on-one, or you could create group, a group coaching program. It all is fantastic in how it supports the people. So this Coach Fast Track program, it is a made for you coaching program. And I'll show you the content here in just a moment. It's a detailed plan with direction and training, coaching content you can use to practice with. We train you how to coach. How you coach people, they improve. A lot about accountability and team support. We have 24/7 training content, presentation skills, content creation training, sales training, and learn how to generate $1 million in a year coaching. Learn how to do this. I mean, you might as well. So this program has 5 main phases. There's the practice, where you get into the coaching right up front. We got to get you doing the work, not just learning the work. Learn it and do it, right? We got to get into place of practicing it. Then the next phase is to build your own program. Now, at the beginning, you're going to get my coaching program that I've used for 15 years. You're going to get my coaching program and a license to use the program. So you can practice coaching with my program while you are building your own program. Then the third phase is now you're using your program out there and being successful at it. And now you're having paid clients because you're learning how to sell your program and market your program. And then now how to escalate that into group coaching on phase 5. So the Coach Fast Track program covers all 5 of these phases, which is fantastic. And what's beautiful about this is if you'll have 24/7 access to the content right there at your fingertips on your laptop to be able to study as fast as you want, or you can follow the design program we have of showing the timeline of how to do the action steps. So you can go as fast as you want. You can pause when you want. You have access to this content in the online training of all of my training videos for lifetime access to the content, which I think is super generous. There's so many programs out there right now where you get access for like 3 or 4 months, and then you have to pay for it every month after that. But we've decided we want to help you and support you for the rest of your life. And as long as we have internet, you can have access to that. So the content, this ready to go coaching program, has 7 complete appointments. And we call this the Essentials of Self-Mastery. And the way that this works is that there are training videos that you watch. Then you have a facilitator guide to use along with the training video. And then you get client worksheets that you can print off or email to your client. So in the first phase of this training, you're going to be coaching right up front because I got to get you taking the action, get you moving, get your mind moving, doing the work and coaching. And you don't have to have your own content yet. We'll provide the content, my coaching program, with a license to use it, training videos to learn the concept, the training, how to talk about it, the facilitator guide to use in that particular coaching appointment, and a client worksheet for them to use as you're coaching them through the content. Right up front, it makes you look professional. That's what I love about this. This is something I did not have when I started. And I wish so bad I could have looked better when I started coaching, like I had something legit, because all I had was a stack of blank paper when I first started coaching. So you'll be able to have training videos to review, a facilitator guide for each appointment, and client worksheets for each of those appointments. And all of this addresses the 3 key elements: the visual part of our mind, the language part of our mind, and the emotion part of our mind. These 3 key elements control everything in how we do what we do in our life. Okay, the next part is about you building your own program. This is off the charts. I have 2 people on my team, Ammon and Cody, that are masters at content creation. They've taken what I've done to create coaching programs. When I say coaching programs, I'm talking about seminars. Like these seminars, every one of these seminars have generated anywhere between $250,000 a year up to $500,000 a year. And so I've created over 41 different programs. And so the way in which I've created my programs, Ammon and Cody put that into a step-by-step process and made it even better than how I could have shown you. So they've watched and studied the way I put together these successful seminars for over the last 18 years and put it together in a step-by-step process that you get to learn. You get to learn this and have this skill for the rest of your life. So this particular way of building coaching programs is exclusive to the Coach Fast Track members. And I highly suggest you follow this step by step because it can help you build $1 million program also. All these programs right here you see on the screen have generated over $22 million in sales. And we're giving you the template of how to build one of those programs as a coaching program for you so that you can be successful at this. So right from the very beginning, we're helping you get started practicing, help you build your content. And what's beautiful about this is every single week, you have access to my team, Cody and Ammon, to ask and Adam to ask them questions about your content, about coaching. And so the very creators of the step-by-step program, you have access to them every single week while you're in the Coach Fast Track program. You have me on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, unless I have a family reunion or something like that. But you have me every Wednesday, you have my team every Tuesday, and then you have this very exclusive, very original way of mindset training from our mindset master, Wayne. So every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you are set up for success. Love it. And that's what I want for you, is that you use my coaching program until you get yours built. There's no need to like go slow at this. It's like, let's just take action, get going, coach people, get you to that point where your skill is increasing every single day. But ultimately, I want you to create your own program so that you have your own part that you've created, so that you're out there doing what you've been called to do in teaching and coaching people. So we're here to get you started, open up your mind so that your ideas, your coaching ideas can be pulled together so you can be out there coaching the clients that you're inspired to work with. And it's a beautiful balance between education and application. That's a big, big part about this Coach Fast Track program is the application. Because what happens? After you learn and after you do, what happens? Transformation. So ultimately, I want to support you as a coach to go from education to application to transformation as a coach, like change and improve and just get to the highest level possible for you as a coach. I think it'd just be fantastic that you'd be at that high level of quality as a coach. So beautiful, beautiful process. Then, of course, the next part is teaching your program, which then moves you into the next phase 4 and 5 is now, how do you market your program and be authentic and not be sales pitchy? You don't need to be a salesperson to offer your program. You can be authentic. You can be yourself. And I'll teach you how I've done it over the years so you're not being some kind of like pitchy person. And then when you're ready, it's time to step it up into group coaching, where you're working with 3, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 300, 400 people at the same time. That's when your income will go up into the 10,000, the 20,000 a month because you have a group coaching program. And we have this here for you so that you can do this. It's beautiful. Like, we want to help you just be awesome. And when it comes to pricing, I'm not going to go through all this, but when it comes to pricing and packaging your content, you'll receive that training, how to do your pricing, what to do if you get stuck in pricing or you have money issues. We're here to help you with your money issues. Ultimately, I want to see you making between $50 and $500 an hour. And you can go more than that. It's just going to take some practice. But I definitely want to see you somewhere in between the $50 to $500 an hour as a coach, either in-person coaching one-on-one coaching or group coaching. And you can do it in person or online, whichever you choose to do. But I have a plan for you to be successful. And I have a plan for you to be a quality coach. That's why we built this Coach Fast Track program. And that's why the whole team is here to support you. because we know we can't do it by ourselves. We're smart enough to know there's a lot of people in the world. There's a lot of people who don't have quality coaches that know what's going on and how this works. Now, if you are an empath or more of an intuitive, you're in safe space. I'm an empath and I'm an intuitive. I just happen to be very structured empath. I'm a very organized empath. I've had to work at it, but you're safe here. If you're an intuitive or empath, I can talk your language. I understand you. I know why you're struggling to get out to coach people and your pricing and putting your content together. I've gone through the same thing. I can help you. I will hear you. I will understand you. And you are needed in a huge way in the world because of your natural gifts and talents as an empath and as an intuitive. So if you've been looking for a safe place to be, this is the program to get into. So you can look at this way. There's time and number of coaching sessions, and then I don't know if you want to have a business or have sales. I'm not sure where you're at in your business, but one way to look at this is over time and coaching sessions, you can start to increase your sales if you want to have this as a business and be self-sufficient with it. Time will get you there. But if you want to get there in a shorter amount of time and be able to be successful that way, you want to have a coach to help you not have self-sabotage. You want a coach who can help you see what could be stopping you. And that's what I can do for you, is I can help you see what is sabotaging you that you can't see as you're wanting to become a quality coach. And so if you want to save time and raise the level of number of clients you work with, like you want to make a big impact, you want to work with a coach like me who can see your sabotage, see what the action steps are, help you course correct. I can do that for you because that's what I've been doing for the last 18 years. And I will be in your life every single week. As long as you want to be in the Coach Fast Track program, you will get direct support to cause a shorter amount of time to happen and a higher level of success. So that's something to seriously consider because, and people, when they first get their first clients, it might be around $97, $300, $1,900, or up even to $5,000 coaching programs, or here we go at $6,800 in total. Here we go with $10,000 in a month after month after month, $14,000 a month, 16,023 days, $50,000 months. But everything gets better when you do. When you decide to have a coach, when you decide to be in a program that it's like, wow, this is exactly what I need. It's all about becoming the best coach they ever met. And that's what I want to support you in. The quality, the understanding, the depth, and how this works. And one of my biggest secrets about how I coach is how to see under the surface what's going on with your client. Not to be just a surface coach, but how to dive underneath the surface and see what's stopping them, what's holding them back. That's what I love to share. It's what I love to help other coaches know how to do, is to find the underlying problems. And then what technique do you use to correct that pattern? What do you do when you find it, Kirk? What do you do next? I love working under the surface because that's in the subconscious. And I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. I don't prescribe things to people. I give them a technique and I teach them a technique and how to use it. I give them tools so that people can be independently successful at changing their life. But I coach them on how to do it. And so it's such a beautiful process. This is absolutely just a joy in how I get to go around and help people all over the world with the internet, the way things work. You can coach people everywhere. So next step is, if you're interested in the Coach Fast Track program, what you do is scan this code or type this in your search bar, and it will take you to a site, and it's a question form. And I think there's like 6 questions, 6 or 7 questions, really easy questions, but it helps me know where you're at as a coach. So when I get on the call with you, or one of my team members gets on a call with you, we know where you're at in your coaching. And so then we can answer questions for you about the Coach Fast Track program, and we can show you how we can help you in your coaching to get you to that next level of quality. And then once you answer these questions, it'll take you to a calendar, then choose a time that fits you best to have a 45-minute to a 1-hour call. And we'll talk about where you're at in the Coach Fast Track program and give you the details in how you would register for the program. If it's a fit, we want to make sure it's a fit, because if it's not the right time or it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. We're not going to force a square peg in a round hole. And we've told plenty of people where they were heading a particular direction that this was not the program for them. So we're not here to convince you. We're here to educate you about what we do and to find out if it fits in the direction you're going. We've coached lots of people, helped many people get their programs built, created, activated, out there coaching, making a difference, teaching people all over the world. So again, scan this code or go to this site or type this in your search bar. It's all going to send you sooner or later to the same place to go here. I think did I just give you the wrong one? Hold on, I got to type this in. I just had a little thought in the back of my head that I might have given you the wrong link. Hold on. 3K, what is it? 3KE, let's coach. Oh, it takes you straight to it. Okay, I gave you the right one. So it'll take you straight to the questionnaire. Then from there, choose on the calendar what time works for you. And then we'll jump on a call, and it'll either be me or one of my team members. And we'll talk to you about what your answers were that you typed in. We'll tell you about the Coach Fast Track program, the tuition, how the whole program works. And then you can make a decision from there. So it's an information phone call. It's not a pressure sales call. It's an information call. Now, this month, I don't know if you've heard this or seen it in your emails, but this month is June, and it's my birthday month. And what I love about my birthday in June is I get to do crazy invitations and offers. So during the month of June, there is a 50% scholarship. So like what the scholarship, what the tuition has been for coaching. What is today? Today is the 9th. And so there's 20 some days left. There's already some of these spots because it's only open for 20 people, but there's people who've already registered this month for this and taken advantage of this, of the 50% scholarship. And so I don't know, I did not find out how many was left, but I already know that there's a whole bunch of people that have already registered this month. So in the what's left for the month, you want to jump in on this, because if you do want to be coached by me and be part of this incredible program, this is the month to do it in my birthday month. So you won't have to remind us that this scholarship's happening, because we're all talking about it in the company and how excited people are that they get the opportunity to take advantage of this month. But when you're on the call and we share with you the tuition and what it is for this month, you're going to be shocked what you can get into Coach Fast Track for. And it's beautiful. The door is wide open for you to be able to get in here. So go here, go to this link, answer the questions and the couple of questions I have for you, and then book a call. Let's talk where you're at, where you're headed. See if Coach Fast Track is a fit for you, because we want you to be successful and make the progress and become a higher quality coach in what you're doing. Cool. So love it. I'm so excited. So we are doing a 50% scholarships, meaning here's the tuition, but now it's half, but it's only till the last day of the month because it's my birthday month. Okay. So if you're still wondering why you're a coach or why you're being inspired to help people and you don't feel skilled Or maybe your life is messy and you're trying to like be on a diet and you're not doing very well. And you're like, how can I coach other people? Like, how can I coach somebody else, Kirk? My life is a mess. Right. We're all at different levels. We're all at different levels, right? But I want to show you something. Consider this. I got to go back here to this slide. Let's say you are here. Let's say you're right here, right? You're right here in what you can do in your life. Look at all these people. You see all these people? You are ahead of these people. You can coach all these people. All these people. Yeah, you're struggling, but guess what? There's people who are struggling worse than you. You can coach all these people. And if you're here, well, I don't know how to highlight all those people. You can coach all those people. So whatever level you're at, there's people behind you. There's things you know that could serve a lot of people. You're not at the bottom. I mean, you definitely need to wake up to that. You are not at the bottom when it comes to where you are at in your life. You're not at the bottom, because this is how it works. When someone struggles, they start looking for answers. You will get inspired with an idea to help others and make a difference. And if you act on that inspiration, you can make a lasting difference in that person's life and in the lives of many, many others. You're not at the back of the line. You're not at the bottom of the bucket. There's other people who have more struggles, more miserable, more difficulties than you, and they're looking for help, and you can help them. So they're out there looking for help. They pray, they meditate, they search for answers. You show up, you're willing to help. You're asking, who can I help? You get an answer. Oh, this is who I'm to help. The other person gets an answer, helps on the way. You get your content put together. You start taking action. You show up. They show up. Boom. You're connected with the people. So before you ever put yourself down, before you ever discount the opportunity you have to serve other people, you need to look at what you can do instead of looking at what you can't do. Get your head in the right direction of what you can do at this point in your life. And if you have been being inspired to help people or go do something or get out there and make some kind of difference, well, here I am talking to you. And here I am talking to you about the Coach Fast Track program. Maybe what you need is me in your life, this program in your life. Maybe it's time for you to learn, do, and change and become a coach in the topic, in the content that you're designed to teach. Maybe you're stuck in the learning zone and you need somebody like me in your life to say, hey, what are you doing? Let's get past your self-sabotage. Let's move you. Let's get going. You know, there's another level you could be living at. You know that. I know that you know there's another level you could be living at. But you've dealt with self-sabotage and it's whooped you. And you don't want anybody to know that you got self-sabotaged. But I know you did. I already told you it happens every day. It happens to all of us. So quit trying to hide your self-sabotage and get into my world so I can help you get through that self-sabotage. Let's get through it. Everybody's dealing with it. You're not the only one. But instead of hiding it and feeling shamed about it, realize that everybody's facing it. What you need is a good quality coach to support you, to get you through it, so you can live your calling, live your life purpose in serving people. I can get you through this activity zone, the action zone, so you can get into transformation and become what you're designed to become. And if you've been looking for a solution to your problems, to what you're up against, what you're dealing with, if you've been looking for a solution, guess what? I showed up. This is an answer. And let's take it for what it is. I'm here. This is a great opportunity. So scan the code or go to this link, or I think Adam will post the link in the chat box right now. He'll post the link to go there to book a call, and you'll answer the questions, choose a time. I don't think there's anything wrong with learning about the Coach Fast Track program so you can find out what your options are to get you moving. Now, those little voices in your head who have been trying to discourage you and trying to destroy you, they're probably going to pop up. And they're probably going to start telling you, oh, I can't do this. You can't do this. You're not good enough. You're too fat, ugly, dumb, slow, whatever they're trying to tell you. They're going to try to pop up to shut you down. And so recognize what they are is that they're negative voices. And if you follow them, your life becomes miserable. So don't follow them. Don't listen to those negative voices. If you're meant to be a teacher, a coach, a presenter, a life coach, and you're like, oh, I just got to do this, then book a call. Let's talk about it. Let's tell you how it works, what it looks like, what steps you need to take to be able to get into the program and get you started. So you have what it takes to get moving on this and to get to the point where you have more self-control in your life so that you can shut down the self-sabotage, get you to live the lifestyle you can live. The end of the world hasn't happened yet. Okay, there's a lot more things to happen in this world. You have plenty of time to transform. Plenty of time. Go here and book a call. We'd love to talk to you. And wow, what a great time to be able to spend with you here today. Great Friday, right? Cool. Okay, I hope I get to talk to you. Thank you for showing up here today. Remember what your client is going through and care enough to inform them and care enough to make them super high-level conscious of their action steps. So what we're here to do is help them get to their levels of transformation because we're coaches. That's what we do. Well, hey, it's great to be with you. And thank you for showing up and carving out the time to be here. I know I went over on time here. That's a good 2.5-hour conversation, but well worth it. On my end, it was well worth it to put this program together today to share it with you because I already know it made a difference. And the better you do, the better you can help other people. Awesome. Okay. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Thanks.